Hello friends, and welcome to today's daily devotion. I'm reading to you from Ephesians, the 4th chapter and the first 3 verses. Hear now these words. I therefore, the prisoner in the Lord, beg you to lead a life worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, making every effort to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. This is the Apostle Paul writing to the church and describing to them that they need to live in a certain way. And it's interesting that Paul uses the descriptor of himself, a prisoner in the Lord. And I think it's interesting because Paul is using that phrase to remind his hearers that being the kind of person that God calls us to be, the kind of person that Paul is, will sometimes land you in jail. That's what happened with Paul. Now for us, we may not land in jail if we are living a life worthy of the calling of God with humility and gentleness and patience, bearing with one another in love, but doing these things does come at a price. You see, when we are gentle and humble, we may not achieve all of our grandest ambitions. I'm convinced that I could never be the President of the United States because I don't have the ambition and the ruthlessness that being a politician requires at those levels. I'm convinced that I could never be a person in charge of a multi-billion-dollar company for much the same reason. Our society today does not know what gentleness looks like. Steve Jobs, who is considered to be one of the geniuses of the late 20th and early 21st centuries, who made Apple Computer and brought us wonders like iPhones and Mac computers, was also known as being a very ungentle person. He would be quite irate and rude at times. My friends, Jesus calls us to not be those kinds of people. So today I invite you to consider what it is that you're willing to become a prisoner for. Are you willing to be a prisoner to a lesser ambition? A prisoner to not having all the money that you could possibly ever have? Because what you will have instead is the amazing blessing of God through Jesus in your life. And I can tell you that being a pastor of Mount Moriah Church is so much better than being the President of the United States. What has God called you to be? And be gentle and faithful in living into that call. And I'll see you tomorrow for another daily devotion.